现在啊，我和班农先生，我们过去2天一直在探讨。
We are going to be the first one actually telling you the true goal and the true mission of the Chinese CCP. And in this world, there were only Mr. Bannon and I who were truly privy to this goal.
如果
Well, if after we tell you the true goal of the Chinese Communist Party, if that does not bring the attention of the United States government, European government, and that did not get the attention of the people of China, the 1.4 billion of the people in China, or the world population, then I must tell you that we are having the Third World War looming at us, and this time the winner is not going to be the United States or the Allied Army. It will be the CCP, and that will bring us the darkest age of all time.
Welcome back to Australia's only geopolitically focused YouTube channel who tells you the truth about what's going on not only in Australia, Asia, China, Hong Kong, but I provide you guys with information that you cannot find anywhere else. I'm going to introduce you guys to a former Chinese Communist Party member who realized how evil this Communist Party was. So what he did was he shifted $1 billion of his own money out of China, moved over to the freedom of America, and started exposing the evil CCP from the safety of America. Now he makes videos predominantly now targeting a Chinese audience, trying to convince them of the evils of their government. And I'm going to cut out all of the Mandarin so that you just hear the English and you get an idea of what these guys are talking about. But they're pretty much saying what I've been telling you guys all along, but I feel it adds more credibility to what I say when you hear it from someone who was actually in the Chinese Communist Party, someone who worked with Xi Jinping personally, someone who knows the inner workings of the CCP. Now, I want you guys to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
The whole world, what they've seen now is the criminality and gangsterism of the Chinese Communist Party. This is outrageous that a G20 country, a country that sits at the table with the biggest, most powerful nations on earth, has ordered the beatings, the tear gas, the rubber bullets, and now what the CCP and their defenders in the West have to understand is that it is literally thousands of hours of footage from brave young people in Hong Kong that's now all over the internet. The image does not lie. The CCP and their words lie, but the image doesn't lie. And everything you want to know about Xi, everything you want to know about Wan Qishan and the rest of their radical cadre is not all their nice words about win-win and about everything they're going to do for the world, right? The new China dream. If you want to see Xi's China dream, look at the blood in the streets of Hong Kong perpetuated by the thugs in the Hong Kong police force.
昨天啊，这个班农先生可能看到，就是在香港机场的这些发生的这个背后呢。
In fact, that Mr. Bannon, you know, that in the past 2 days we have observed what the PLA had crazy behavior at the Hong Kong airport, and then also that we had already verified internally and with the rest of the world a piece of news that we have gotten. In fact, that it pointed out that the CCP's crazy behavior in Hong Kong, and then China's CCP, they have monopolized the infrastructure, services, and the legal structure and the finance structure of Hong Kong, and then also laying down the extradition law in Hong Kong. Their target is not merely Hong Kong. In fact, that they have a more sinister goal behind it. So perhaps that we could actually disclose that now. You see that since the CCP at the 18th Congress, the Xi Jinping, Wan Qishan, right? And then they had already been setting up this internal anti-corruption committee dynamics. In the past, it's the CCP's CCP, this criminal and the thuggism of the party rule China. But now that they don't even have that, only 2 families ruling China, so that in effect, they are now changing party world into the family world in China. The national resources of China into the hands of the two families and these two men. And then they, in effect, had been putting the rule in Hitler's era and Stalin's era into the modern world of China, kidnapping the 1.4 billion of Chinese people and 90 million of the party members, and so that everything rests in these two men's hands. And Mr. Bannon is the first person bringing the truth to the world and let us understand, no matter what China's talking about, the China dream in 2025, 2035, and 2045, these plans of China, and then also the Belt and Road Initiative of China, and China building the Hong Kong, Macau, and the Pearl River Delta. These things, they were trying to rule not just Hong Kong, they're trying to rule China, Asia, and extend it to the rest of the world. And so these two people's ambitions are now being presented to the world, and that is shocking to the world.
Of these governments like Mussolini's Italy and Hitler's Nazi Germany, the Russians under Stalin, and you've seen it today brought into the 21st century. What's most shocking is not simply their ambitions for world hegemony, but how naked their ambition and how naked their grab for power is, and how anybody that believes in the rule of law will be cut down in front of them. That's what Hong Kong emphasizes. All the happy talk, all the lies, all the speeches in Davos, all the money, bribe money they put throughout the think tanks and the universities and the media companies to sing their praises. All those think tanks and media companies and universities, they all just should look at Hong Kong over the last couple of days. Forget the last 13 weeks or the last 13 years where they've taken people's rights, but just look in the last 48 hours in the lies, in the misrepresentations, in the gangsterism, right? Of these young people, hovering in train cars, being beaten like they're being beaten by the Gestapo. And that's exactly what this is. And now the whole world sees it. So all the lies of Xi, all the lies of Wan Qishan, all come to light.
What President Trump will need to be doing coming up next? Because you see that in the last 48 hours, Mr. Bannon had not been sleeping at all. In fact, that he was very busy and then trying to mobilize the media support of what happened in Hong Kong. To name a few, for example, that the Committee of the Clear Present Danger and the New York Times and CNN, CNBC, and the numerous of countries such as the leaders in Europe and the leaders in Britain and our congressman, Mitch McConnell and Rubio, all of that. Then he's mobilizing them to lend support to what happened to Hong Kong. But does he think? What do you think, Mr. Bannon, that the President Trump and the U.S. government would need to do?
Well, I think here's the power. I haven't had to do anything with the U.S. politicians because they're mobilizing themselves. Mitch McConnell, who for many years has not been that tough on the CCP, has come out with a very tough statement. Senator Rubio is really the leading hawk now in the United States, and he's been driven simply by the actions of the CCP. The same with the people in Europe. Nigel Farage came out with a very strong statement yesterday, much stronger than Boris Johnson. In fact, he called out Boris Johnson and President Trump of not being forceful enough about what's going on in the CCP. And that is driven by the actions of the Chinese Communist Party to the innocent people in Hong Kong. The Committee on the Present Danger did issue a very stark warning and a call for personal sanctions against Carrie Lam and the executives in the Hong Kong government, and for the immediate acquiescence to the 5 demands of the Hong Kong protesters. I think what's most important, though, is that I think it's got to be ratcheted up now. Given the behavior of the Chinese Communist Party in the last 48 hours, I believe you need sanctions, personal sanctions, on Xi and Wan Qishan. And I realize President Trump is in a very tough negotiation right now, and he is kind of restricted or constricted by that negotiation. But President Trump, I think if you look at his strategy, is very smart. And by this I mean he understands that the Chinese Communist Party just responds to 2 things: money and power. right? And that's why he's going right now, and I think attacking on this trade deal and holding back so that he can't be accused like they've accused the CCP and the Global Times and the People's Daily have said that Miles and I are the black hand with the CIA are the black hands in back of the uprising in Hong Kong. The uprising in Hong Kong is 100% the Hong Kong people. And Wan Shan and Xi should know when they're finally taken down, it won't be the black hand of the CIA or the MI5 or MI6 or the British government or the American government. It's going to be the Chinese people. The Chinese people are the ones that are going to take you down. And they're going to take you down because you have treated them like slaves and beaten them like animals.
一个也不能放过。
So that my warrior friends, you will know that in the future that in fact not just Mr. Bannon, he's sitting in front of this camera. We need to destroy such an evil regime of the Chinese Communist Party that we will not. Of course, after our destruction of the CCP, we will not be doing any retribution of that regime. But yet, we must always hunt down the people in Hong Kong that rendering the harm to the Hong Kong people and the beating up the Hong Kong people. Those Hong Kong officials, we must hunt them down and make sure that they take the responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things is where's the accountability and the responsibility of Carrie Lam's government right now, the functionaries and apparatchiks in the Hong Kong government have to stand accused before the world of the lawlessness. This is every day is a police riot. Every day is the riot police out of control. Every day is the Raptors, the special tactical force that they've unleashed on the innocent, peaceful protesters, because the protesters are peaceful. The violence comes from the Hong Kong authorities, who are the running dogs of the CCP.
Of course, that Mr. Bannon, he's going to be doing a lot more later on, and then he is joining hands together with like many people, many elites in many industries, such as in the finance we have Carl Bass, and in the military we have Robert Spalding, and then we have Senator Rubio, and in the government even the President Trump, Vice President Pence, John Bolton, and then also Mr. Pompeo. They will stand together with us, and then in the future they are going to sanction the Hong Kong government and then the people who are involved.
No, I think if you look at the continuation, if you have, and we understand that the CCP does not want any embarrassment for their 70th anniversary of the founding of the Chinese state in the CCP and the Communist Party on October 1st. But their actions in Hong Kong have now driven the Hong Kong people. This is not going to stop, and I think it's only a matter of time before sanctions, as the Committee on the Present Danger called for immediate sanctions on the top 5 executives in the Hong Kong government. I think that we're not too far away from seeing sanctions imposed on those individuals, and they're held accountable by not just the United States, but other nations of the world, including Japan and the United Kingdom, France and Germany. I also think that we're not going to be too far away if the CCP continues their brutality, if they continue the beatings, if they continue the tear gas, if they continue to treating the young people of Hong Kong like animals. We are not too far away, I think, from the nations of the world standing up and not just stopping the free trade agreement with Hong Kong, but actually holding Wan Shan and Xi and others of Xi's henchmen in the CCP to hold them responsible for what's going on in Hong Kong.
Thank you, sir. Make this happen. I hope American and the West of the world don't everything driven by perfect. Driven by benefit. It's driven by justice.
I think that's a good point, Miles, that I would like to comment on, is that why is the CCP, if Wan Shan is supposed to be such a genius, that Bloomberg introduces him in Singapore as, one of the most powerful guys in the world, if Xi is supposed to be, in Davos, welcome as a new god of globalization, if these individuals are so powerful and so omnipotent and so wise, why are they afraid of the rule of law? Why are they afraid of the rule of law? And why are they afraid of bringing down the firewall in mainland China? And why are they afraid of the rule of law on the deal that was made, that the rule of law would be totally instituted in Hong Kong and eventually in mainland China? Why do they fear the rule of law? If they're so smart and so brilliant and so all-powerful and so omnipotent, that they can be masters of the world and do one belt, one road and made in China 2025 and the 5G rollout of Huawei and have a master plan of how to take over the world. If they have all that and they've thought of all that and they're that powerful, why are they afraid of the rule of law of just some young kids in Hong Kong? Why do they fear the young people of Hong Kong? Why do they cower and have to send the Raptors, the Special Task Force, and send the riot police and send tear gas and rubber bullets? What is it about these young people in Hong Kong that they fear?
The answer is that the Chinese Communist Party is an evil structure, is an evil organization. It's because that you see that it is calling itself that Communist Party, and they are the party of no asset. But of course, they are not just a party of no asset. They have the most asset in the world. They have privatized all the national asset. And then even the people, the sexual life, their sexual organs is in their own hand, in their own control. With all these evil acts and evil criminal acts, they would worry about retribution if they were not in power. And then of course that you can see that all the people that they have destroyed in Xinjiang and in Sichuan, Tibet, and then they have also stolen trillions and trillions of wealth from the people. They have to hide. They have to hide from the criminal act. They have to save their own life, and that is why that they are afraid. The number three very critical flaw that they have is Mr. Bannon is, that you have met Wang Qishan and you have met Xi Jinping, and I myself have met them too. So we know very well about what they are. We know that they are clever, they can be quite smart, but they are not truly wise. They have no wisdom at all. They have no world vision, and then they have no faith in their religion. So therefore that, they are, because they are clever, they feel like they are quite smart. So they are full of hubris. And therefore it is their downfall. They committed all this foolish act and behavior.
另外一个最后我想说的事情，他们
So good, so good.
根本的一切发生的原因。
So in short, to summarize, is that the CCP is an evil structure, and they are greedy, and because of their greed, then they have committed numerous crimes, and they are in fear of that truth to be told and to be exposed to the world, and also because that they are ignorant, so therefore they are full of this hubris, and then they will be foolish, and because they have no religion, they have no faith, and therefore that they don't believe in all this justice will come to them. And that's why that the CCP, that is the truth of the CCP. Some of my supporters were asking that the 500 million being killed by the CCP, is this an accurate number? Now, I must tell you that the 500 million, including 300 million of the children or the infant fetus being destroyed by the one-child policy in China. And then, of course, there are people who died from starvation during the Cultural Revolution. And then, of course, the rest of the people were just being killed and destroyed by the Communist Party in any of their random act.
Well, you saw what President Trump put the tariffs in today. He was under a lot of pressure not to. He's now fully engaged in this economic war that the CCP has been running against the United States. And I think as people come back to Washington over the next couple of weeks, there's going to be even more focus on what's happened in Hong Kong. I mean, this is outrageous. After 13 weeks, it's getting more violent. It's getting more violent not because of the protesters. The protesters are the same innocent, peaceful, intelligent, young people in Hong Kong. It's getting more violent because of the out-of-control nature of the stability force, the out-of-control nature of the police force, the out-of-control nature of the Raptors, the special tactical unit of the Hong Kong police, which looks like it's certainly PLA from mainland China. And so all of this, remember, the CCP only exists because the West allows it to exist. The West finances it. It allows it to launder its money and take the wealth of the Chinese people and put it into the West. And the West gives it the technology. Once that's all cut off, once the technology's cut off, once the capital's cut off, once the access to money laundering and this taking and stealing of the Chinese people's hard-earned wealth, of which they don't allow them to own any, and that's laundered into the West. Once all of that is cut off, and people in mainland China and Hong Kong should know that every day becomes clearer and clearer of the culpability of the elites of the West in the creation of their Frankenstein monster, which is the Chinese Communist Party, and particularly the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party. All of that is going to be coming to an end because it is an untenable situation that the West is party to this. And that is where the accountability, that is where the pressure is coming there and on people like Carrie Lam and the running dogs of the Hong Kong government that are the running dogs of the CCP. And so I think people's anger only builds. I think people's frustration only builds. And I think the transparency, accountability, and enforceability of the rule of law is coming to Hong Kong.
So that exactly as Mr. Bannon has intimated, that what we're going to see next is that whether Hong Kong is going to be like the time when the Kuwait was invaded, or that whether we're going to see that it's going to be entering into the next civilized era. Now, what we need to do now is that we need to keep busy, because the White House and the Congress are going to be in session after next week, so that we must keep on putting pressure to urge the Congress to make sure that the free trade agreement of Hong Kong is going to be cancelled and void, and then the most favorable nation status must be taken away, and Xi Jinping, Wang Qishan personally, and the officials of the CCP must be personally be sanctioned. And of course, that the five people of the Hong Kong government and the officials must be personally be sanctioned and tried and be taking the responsibilities. And these are all these things that we need to be doing. And of course, that the China and the US must be economically decoupling. The trade tariff and negotiation must be keep on continue to make sure that the tariff is going to happen. Economically must be putting pressure. Decoupling is definitely going to happen. That is exactly what we need to be doing coming up. Hong Kong, so that can only be adhered to the interests of the whole world, US, Europe, and Taiwan and Hong Kong. Now that at this juncture, Mr. Bannon and I are going to pray for the great goodness of all the 1.4 billion people in China and the people in Xinjiang, Tibet, Hong Kong, Taiwan.
Thank you, sir.班农先生还有什么要说的吗？